The main point here is that, yes, there is a cabal of Zionist Jews who is essentially acting as a shadow government, and Epstein is clearly evidence of that.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems you've said it. It's a toxic culture, meaning the whole Israeli project it was founded on a genocide. It was founded on the Nakba. It was founded on stealing land that was given to them by an occupying force, the UK, that didn't have the right to give that land to anybody.
Right.
And it's what's funny to me is as soon as the UK acknowledged that the Palestinians had a right to that land, they immediately sued the UK for giving that land to Israel, which is awesome. But here's what Candace Owens had to say. And I just want to get your response to it.
Sure.
Because the book that we are currently reading is so on time right now. Quite literally, we're completing this book on Friday, Sigmund Freud and the Jewish Mystical Tradition. After having read previously The Assault on Truth, those people were not surprised at all because I took you through it. What Sigmund Freud and his B'nai B'rith Freemason boys actually believe about you, what they believe, how they have accomplished things, this false dialectic, their means to accomplish running Western society, breaking apart Christian empires. Yes, he hated Christians. It's a fact. He wrote about it extensively. He hated Catholics. And yes, they perform rituals. That is not an imagination. It's not a conspiracy. The only conspiracy are those that are colluding to hide those facts. And now we can really stick our noses down at them. And no, I want to be clear. This is not Judaism. This isn't your grandma's Judaism. It's a cult mysticism. That's the way that it's able to move through seemingly all the faiths, right? Aleister Crowley. Well, how could you have the Star of David once upon a time? What was it? Before 1914, that was the flag of Morocco. That's weird. That's not a Jewish nation. What does it actually symbolize? Occult mysticism. That's why it's on the cover of Aleister Crowley's books. If you're going to perform magic and rituals. And yes, sorry guys, got to wake up. It's a Monday. We got to get you there. They deem children to be a necessary part of their initiation rituals. This I'm going to read from you is actually a direct quotation from Sigmund Freud. Okay? Person that was hailed as a hero. We were in high school and middle school, and he's the father of modern psychology. Yeah, guys, that's kind of the problem. That is kind of the problem, actually. Anyway, to contextualize this, he's writing a letter to his best friend, also the person he was having a gay affair with, who mentored him, Wilhelm Fliess. Now, I should skip to the part and tell you Wilhelm Fliess also molested his own son, Robert Fliess. Robert Fliess spoke about that when he got older. But Sigmund Freud is writing to Wilhelm Fliess after he gets initiated, because they wait until you're 36 to initiate you into the occult mystic Kabbalah. Okay, I'm going to read you what he writes. He's referring to a patient who he previously hadn't understood before his initiation, who came in, and she spoke to him about what she experienced when she was a child. He writes, imagine I obtained a scene, which means a patient was speaking to him about this, about the circumcision of a girl, the cutting of a piece of her labia, sucking up the blood, following which the child was given a piece of the skin to eat. He then fast forwards and he says, I dream, therefore, of a primeval devil religion whose rites are carried on secretly, and I understand the harsh therapy of the witches' judges. And then he speaks about this. Freud is implying here, by the way, this we are so anti-Semitism proof. This book was written by a guy who was the director of the Freud archives. He read Freud's unpublished works and determined that, yeah, Freud knew that the children were being abused in Vienna, and he created a social science, psychology, to help gaslight those children. This is what you got to be aware of. This is all real. It's not imagined. These are not kooky people on the internet that are telling you this. Quite the opposite. And then this guy, Jason Massone, who writes this book, writes that Freud is implying here that the Sabbats were real events, part of a ritualized religion in which sexual perversions were acted out. So he was aware that this was happening. And in case you are not aware, Sigmund Freud, the background story there is wild. All right, he was once an outcast in the very tight-knit, perverted psychology club in Vienna because he told the truth. He went to the morgue. He examined children who had died after they were horrifically murdered and sexually assaulted. And then he also saw patients who were children who were still alive, who were telling him these stories about what they lived through. And he had determined after speaking to these children that they were all telling the truth. And so he gets ostracized from the psychology community. He's like, no, this is actually happening. And it's also incestuous. And they go, get out of here. You can't be with us. You can't publish his paper. Oh no, what would the Goyim think? He actually did publish his findings. And like I said, the pervert turned on him. Then remarkably, at the age of 36, he partakes in a ritual during which he's welcomed into the club, and he changes his mind and he writes to Wilhelm Fliess that he now understands. Okay, so that's what I just read to you. Like he now understands what is happening. And that is why you need to wake up and recognize that this is what is happening in our world. And what he's referring to are ancient pagan festivals and ceremonies that center around the earth's cycles of death and rebirth. And so to make this extra clear to you, we are not in a war between monotheistic faiths. The people that we are fighting are effectively pagan gypsies who have been wearing the cloak of Judaism, I would say, since the fall of the missing Khazarian Empire. The Khazars were a nomadic Turkic tribe who adopted Judaism in the 8th century. Now, Freud, this part is important. We're going to get to what's in Epstein's emails because, man, if I didn't tell you guys the truth, Freud himself was a racist, okay? He was a part, like I said, of the Freemason group B'nai B'rith, which had, if you don't know what B'nai B'rith is, you got to wake up, especially if you're in America, okay? That lodge, it's Jewish supremacists. They had everything to do with the Civil War in America. They excel at creating the false dialectic, the North versus the South, the left versus the right. Ulysses S. Grant notoriously expelled Jews from his military district, Tennessee, Mississippi, Kentucky. You think he was just like what, another white supremacist? Everyone's just a white supremacist. I mean, they would have called him a white supremacist, or he was anti-Semitic. Everybody's just anti-Semitic. No, it had everything to do with what they were cooking up at these lodges, B'nai B'rith. That then subsequently became the ADL after the ritualistic murder of a Catholic girl named Mary Fagan. There is no hiding that anymore. I don't care if Dennis Prager is going to write another letter and say, that's not true. This case is not real. It's happened so many times during the same dates, the same holiday season, all throughout history, that it is getting ridiculous to not acknowledge that this is true and this is real. And the Epstein files create an opportunity for us to discuss this, to hear the way they speak about us behind closed doors, exactly how Sigmund Freud spoke. It's racist, right? I want to make it clear that this is, for them, a religious philosophy, a racist perspective that we are goyim, meaning cattle that are meant to be herded and ruled over. I said this at the end of last year. I said this is how I am being treated because I don't listen to them. Hence their psychotic, obsessive, and frankly, their evil manner in which they have confronted me simply trying to move on in my life after realizing I don't want to work for Zionist psychopaths. I just don't want to do that if that's cool.
All right, so I'll stop it there. Now, let me ask. Now, Kurt, you followed it. When she said all that stuff, I'm watching it. I'm like, Bo, I don't understand anything she's saying about
leaving something out
about the mystic Jewish and how it gets into all the religions, which is what you've been telling me about these Christian people.
Dialectic.
Yeah, and so the false dialectic of the north, south, left, right. That's
what Hegel was into, and she's right about Freud. That's 100% correct. She keeps stressing Catholic girl was killed. So this is the thing this is what I would ask her about. That's all true what she's saying. The Vatican's in on it. Did you not know that? You're an adult convert to Catholicism. They are in on it. The New World Order of the Rose, that's Jesuits. They're all in on it. So don't worry. It's not just them. And the Khazarian thing, so here's the actual story of that. Some Jewish guy was attempting to prove it's a religion, not a race. And that's where that comes from a guy well-intentioned trying to separate the religion from the race, not understanding the Zionists want it to be a race because they need it to be. So this is the part, like I said, I would ask her good questions, because when she came on, remember, she thought Soviets invented concentration camps, but no, that was the British in South Africa. And I have seen her assimilate information once she learns it. But again, yo, if you're Catholic, Bannon, same thing. He throws out specifically Catholic all the time. Yo, the Vatican's in on it. What are you guys talking about? Do you think the Vatican's not in on it? You're right. That's horrible. Your own thing is in on it. Do you not get it? I don't understand why they leave this out.
So let me throw it back to you, Keaton. What do you make of that when you hear that? And it makes whoever seems to be in charge of Judaism, it seems like what she's saying, and correct me if you didn't hear it this way,
Muhammad, I believe,
that the whoever's in charge of Judaism is like a mystic, and they're doing that mystic Judaism, which isn't Judaism, and they're steering the conversation, and that's why it can get in all different religions, and they have this supremacist view, and that's how they talk about us behind closed doors. What do you say to that?
Well, Catholics take communion, so I don't really see the difference. I think this is all kind of overblown. I'm just kidding.
You're right.
No, I'm just joking. No, I mean, I like you, Jimmy. I had never heard any of that, so I had a kind of similar reaction.
But I knew Kurt did. I knew Kurt knew everything.
Sure. I blather to everybody I meet every time I meet him. Time I meet him.
So go ahead, Keaton.
No, but I mean, the conclusion she draws at the end, I mean, I have no reason to doubt it because whatever the backstory and, whatever parsing you want to do, when you talk about, has Judaism been hijacked by these, pagan mystics? I mean, that could all very well be true. I have no reason to doubt anything she's saying. I don't know enough to rebut that. I have no interest in rebutting that. I just have to plead ignorance on that. But however you want to parse it, it is undeniably true to anyone of fair mind that the way they talk about the rest of the world is obviously extremely racist. They obviously do view non-Jews as cattle to be ruled over. I mean, that is an unmistakable conclusion. Yeah, I mean, it's just an unmistakable conclusion to draw. And so, I mean, however that gets parsed or negotiated within Judaism, is I won't say it's irrelevant, but its relevance is sort of secondary to the main point, which is that, yes, there is a cabal of Jews who, in this case, of course, I mean, Jeffrey Epstein was obviously a Zionist Jew, right? Who, yes, do view the world as theirs to dominate. And there's absolutely an attitude of entitlement and an attitude of supremacy. And I would say Jewish supremacy is really the tip of the spear. And then, they kind of drag, some like white supremacist, anti-Arab racists along with them to make their case for them. Like you could look at a guy like Bill Maher. Bill Maher is not a Jewish supremacist. Bill Maher's an atheist, but he's clearly an anti-Arab racist who then sees Zionism as a vehicle for hegemonic Western expansion.
He likes black hookers, though. He's not totally racist.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I say anti-Arab racist. Yeah. That's a key point. So then, guys like him sort of glom onto it. Right. And so it does take on a sort of white supremacist character. I mean, when you look at what is Israel, it is a Western, it is a Western sort of puppet state in an Eastern and Arab region.
England,
so
England.
Obviously, So obviously there is an interest for Western chauvinists and white supremacists to back Israel. But no, the tip of the spear at this moment, at least, as evidenced clearly in these files, is yes, a Jewish supremacist streak. Wherever that comes from is, I'm not going to say it's not an important point, but it is a tangential point. The main point here is that, yes, there is a cabal of Zionist Jews who is essentially acting as a shadow government. And Epstein is clearly evidence of that when you look at what's in these files.
Okay, cabal, the word cabal, you know where we get that from? Kabbalah. We get the term cabal from Kabbalah. All of them are into it. Kabbalah is not even Jewish. It's from Babylon. It's old like Egyptian magic. That's why Crowley that she mentioned, they're all into it. The pagan stuff she's talking about, that's what the Mary shit is. When they brought Mary worship into that, they're all on the same team, those things. And here's what I know a bunch of people, not Keaton, I just friends of mine in New York that are secular materialists that don't believe in cuckoo caca things. Well, just so you know, the most important people in the world do believe. They believe deeply. So all that mystical horse shit, and it's so fucking annoying hearing Harry Potter shit is like the reality of the world. I really hate that the most. They believe in it deeply. Epstein thought you know what they were looking for in their submarine by his island was Atlantis. Stupid Ghislaine Maxwell used the name Janet Atlantis as like her fake name, and she was that's what that temple imagery is. They all think that, and that goes back a long way. That's what the founding fathers came here for, because they thought it was the new Atlantis. I personally hate that shit. I hate saying the word Atlantis. I hate things with Atlantic in it, to be honest with you. Like the transatlantics, all that stupid shit. But I want to ask every scientist I meet, most of whom went to Epstein Island, by the way. I know you think there's no God and you don't believe in that, but you know all the people that pay for you to do what you do, they believe in the goofiest shit I ever heard in my life. Beyond any Christianity or Judaism or anything. They believe in wacky shit. The real rich people. So why are you like a chump at mid-level with your secular bullshit? You know?
I mean, look, as far as all that's concerned, like, yeah, I mean, I buy that 100%. I mean, I buy what you're saying about them. Not that I buy what they buy, but yeah.
I don't think they're from Atlantis. I think they might be lying between you and me.
All right, but I mean, it seems pretty obvious based on what's in these files that this is, yeah. I mean, this is what all of the most ridiculed conspiracy theorists, quote unquote, have been saying forever now, and it seems to be essentially true. Like it seems to be basically true, right? Whether every fact, every claim is verifiable or not. It seems like the overall picture that all of these crazy people have been painting for the last several decades is pretty much accurate.
You know what cartels do? So cartels and African warlords, you've heard the crazy things they do. The Pizzagate-esque actions of cartels and Liberian warlords. And nobody blinks when you tell them those horrors, do they? But you tell them their white leaders do that, they all of a sudden are like, that's far-fetched. I don't have evidence of that. Well, you think that Hillary Clinton's not going to avail herself of the power that a cartel boss would avail themselves of? Are you joking?
Right.
All the leaders do that. They're all into it. It's not far-fetched. It's all in the files. And if you know what to look for, it's even scarier than I originally thought. And I'm far out.
So let me just, so there was a lot of people who would, I would cringe when I would hear them referred to the Jews. And the Jews do this, and the Jews control, and the Jews think, does this kind of, what I'm hearing, Keaton, does it kind of justify that kind of anti-Semitism in a sense? Does it or
no, I mean, quite frankly, yes, it does. And I say this as a Jewish person myself. Like I am completely tired of hearing accusations of anti-Semitism. I mean, quite frankly, the way the Jewish community on a whole has behaved these past couple of years has been disgusting on a whole. There are exceptions. I like to think I'm one of the exceptions. I like to think there are
not
several
a wealthy oligarch.
exceptions.
The rich people do it.
But yeah, no, it has been absolutely shameful to the point where, like, yeah, at a certain point, it's not on everybody else to, like, have these sort of internal debates for you. It's not on everybody else to, like, parse out, okay, who are the Jews who don't advocate for genocide and who are the Jews who don't? And part of the reason this becomes a big problem is because you have organizations like the ADL who are so insistent that Judaism and Zionism are the same thing, that they are really causing people to perhaps overlook the distinctions between Zionist Jews and anti-Zionist Jews. And at a certain point, like, it is on the Jewish community to get its shit together and put out a consistent and unmistakable message that we're against genocide, occupation, and apartheid, and the Jewish community simply has not done that. And like I said, say this
is that
as
even
a guy
thing?
who grew
I know
up
they say
essentially
it
in a
is.
Jewish family. Like, it is a somewhat tough thing to say. Like I said, I didn't grow up a serious Jew, but the fact of the matter is the Jewish community has not come out in one voice and condemned the Holocaust of our time. And that is a stain on the Jewish community, plain and simple. I wish it wasn't that way. I really wish it wasn't that way.
There's
I do my
nobody
part,
in charge of
but
it.
I'm only, I'm one person, and that's just kind of the way it is. So, does it justify anti-Semitism? I don't condone bigotry of any kind, but at a certain point, like if the most powerful and influential members of a community are insisting that to oppose what Israel has done these past couple of years is to be anti-Semitic, and if they are insisting that the Jewish state has not only the right to commit a genocide, but the obligation to commit a genocide in order to defend its position as a Jewish state, well, that is going to cause a lot of people to foster animosity toward Jews. And at a certain point, at what point does that become? Does the Jewish community become responsible for that? Like, I think we've crossed that line, quite frankly, to the point where somebody starts talking about the Jews. What am I going to argue with them? I can't. I mean, honestly, I can't.
I do. I argue with them. I don't put it. You're responsible for what you do. I thought that's basic shit. There is no Jewish community unless you're talking about Lakewood, from where I'm from. Was all those Cabal people living together. My girlfriend that was Jewish hated when she lived in Borough Park. She hated them way more than any Nick Fuentes follower hates them. She hated them because they treated her like a whore because she didn't cover her head up because she was reformed. There's a bunch of it's like how they made Iraq out of people that don't go together. The Zionists decided, what does that even mean, anti-Semitism? Does it mean I don't like what Israel's doing? They change the definition all the goddamn time. And all these people that don't agree get lumped in because they might need you as a hostage. Like they killed the hostages, and you know how the Yoni and what's her name, that they got stuck when Netanyahu was holding Jews that came to visit like suckers because he wanted Trump to do something. You remember that very recently, to bomb Iran or whatever?
Right.
He closed the airport, so the Jews, they're hostages. So these people that don't worship the same God as whatever Jews, they sacrifice Jews on the regular. The idea of we're all in this together is as bullshit as BLM, which was complete bullshit. All the black people aren't together. That ain't never. There's your leaders, and then so there's no pope of it. The community leaders, that's political shit. That's not a religious thing.
Right, but it is. I mean, yes, I understand that, but it is also a political world where people absorb politics in terms of groups. And I think if the messaging to ordinary people constantly is that to be against Israel is to be against Jews, unless Jews speak up in very large numbers to disavow people of that notion, then people are going to get a little bit confused. And you know what? At a certain point, what I'm saying is that's not their fault. Like, it's not the fault that, like, if you tell the average person who doesn't follow politics all that closely, if you tell the average person, well, you can't watch tens of thousands of children get murdered and say you're against that because then that makes you an anti-Semite. At a certain point, people are going to say, you know what? I'm not interested in having this semantical argument about whether I'm an anti-Semite or not. I know I'm against this. I know I'm against mass murder. So if you're going to tell me that I can't be against mass murder without being an anti-Semite, then guess what? I'm an anti-Semite. At a certain point, people are going to be like, look, I'm not arguing semantics with you. Yeah. You call me whatever the fuck you want.
Right.
I'm against genocide. If being against genocide makes me anti-Semitic, then I guess that's what I am. That's what people are going to say past a certain point.
It doesn't. And they can say whatever they want.
That's fine. But I'm saying that's how people are going to absorb that at a certain point.
The reason these punks that say anti-Jew, the Jews do this and that, they're working for Zionists. That little prick Fuentes works for them. So they're trying to confuse the issue. So all the people, like Norman Finkelstein, I didn't even understand it until he came on. And I thought it was complicated this whole time, like an idiot, like the average idiot goy, who, by the way, is stupid as fuck, who can fault the Jews for thinking that. I fucking didn't know until he goes, he was so mad that he didn't go harder when he explained this very simple wrong. And I was like, I couldn't believe how simple it was. Like, I was just blown away by that. So that guy should get a lot of credit. And I'm not going to go the Jews. The only reason I stress this to everybody who wants to debate me on it, I don't debate. Understand, I'm a good person who's against Muslims and prejudice against them. And I would never listen to an Arab. Like a good person. Do you understand? Jews told me what's happening. That's the only reason I know that Israel fucked up. How would I even know? I wouldn't listen to a Muslim. So that's why I'm not going to say the Jews, because that's your only hope of finding out. We've been conditioned by these people that worship Baal, the one that the Jews were supposed to kill. Well, they're Israelites, not Jews. Like, if you don't say the exact terms right, and any of that commie group guilt shit, yo, that's just some Jew bullshit, dude. No, I'm joking. Yeah.
All right. We got it.
I think you're right. Like, I obviously, I think you're right. Like, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to get shivved by a groiper when I step outside my apartment tomorrow.
They don't
like,
do it. With his dick, they're gay.
Yeah. Like, I obviously think you're right. I'm just saying the way people absorb information is through, mass messaging. And if the mass message is you can't oppose genocide without being an anti-Semite, past a certain point, people are going to just stop quibbling with you over the semantics of it. They're going to say, you know what? Call me what you want. I'm against this. If that makes me an anti-Semite, guilty as charged. Past a certain point, that's what people are going to say. And I think that's what people are starting to say.
Yeah.
Keaton, all right, we got to wrap it up. Keaton, thank you so much for taking time out. I appreciate it. Get back to being Mr. Mom and
Rabbi Weiss. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
And thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you soon.
Shaman to rabbi. It was a real enlightening conversation.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Come see me on tour. I'll be in Lansing, Milwaukee, Albuquerque, Houston, Dallas, Salt Lake City, Las Vegas. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. If you go anywhere else, you're going to pay more.